welcome into Courtside Chats with AJ McCord. We're coming to you live from Chesapeake Arena here in Oklahoma City, getting ready for Game 3 between the Thunder and your Portland Trail Blazers. Of course, the Blazers coming into this game up 2-0 on the series in the best-of-7 series, but we're expecting a great one here tonight. I'm expecting OKC's best and biggest punch to come tonight here in Game 3. But as Damian Lillard said in the pregame video at Moda, the Blazers aren't just ready to weather the storm, they're ready to become it.
We have to embrace it. We have to, I think more importantly, we have to stick together, and we have to realize that it's us against the world today and the next game. So, but I think if we continue to stay locked in and not really worry about everything that's going on outside the huddle, I think we'll be fine.
They know that this is this is where the series is going to go one way or the other, and it could put them in a great space, and feeling good about themselves, or it can be like, man, we down. So it's up to us to come out here and apply that pressure and make sure that we put ourselves in position to get another win.
I know crowd gonna be crazy. I know they're gonna be, of course, it's game third, and I expect the crowd to be crazy, and I expect the Thunder to be, just attacking more, definitely, and be more aggressive offensively and defensively. But I don't think we should be worried about anything. We just need to go out there and just play our basketball.
So we are joined now by Kerry Eggers of the Portland Tribune. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
How
AJ.
was your trip?
It was fantastic so far. Pretty quick to. We'll see how it is after the game.
Exactly. So we both have talked to this team so far this season, and I gotta say, tonight they seem very locked in. If you didn't know the series score, you would think we're starting at 0-0. How vital do you think that mentality is?
Well, I think the want factor is even with both of these teams, but the need factor is higher on OKC's part. I think the Thunder know that this is not an elimination game, but it's as close as it comes. So I think Portland will get the very best from the Thunder, and I do think Portland's emotional state is very good. I think they know that it's one game at a time. If they can take one of these two games, they're in great shape.
Two guys on Oklahoma City's side that we've seen not be their best are Paul George and Russell Westbrook. Those guys are combined 7 of 32 from 3, whereas Dame is 9 of 19 from 3. So how vital is it for Logo Lillard to make an early appearance?
Well, Lillard is he's just been rock solid in this. Paul George has actually been pretty good too. As Westbrook's the one who has not played as well. So I think Westbrook, if Westbrook has another shooting game like he had in the first two, I think Portland's in great shape.
Absolutely. And have you gotten a chance to see the Thunder shoot around at all?
I did not go to the shoot around.
I haven't either. I haven't seen Russell Westbrook or Paul George out warming up yet, but we're going to keep an eye out for them. Now, one of the guys who had a big coming out game on Tuesday was AJ McCOLLUM. He had a game-high 33 points. He was 3 of 7 from distance, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and I believe a steal for the game. So here is what he said afterwards about maybe why he went off like he did.
Yeah, when I first got hurt, I thought it was meniscus. I thought it was meniscus, PCL, MCL. It was in that area, so I was very afraid. I was thinking about the timelines and, having seen so many injuries in my career, understanding how long each injury takes, I was just praying, like, please don't be meniscus. And when the MRI came back, I kind of just smiled. I was like, yep, this is it. This is a sign. It's meant for me to be able to come back. And I just rehabbed twice a day. I spent a lot of time with Logan and the staff and just trying to figure out ways to speed up the process. I didn't sit on the bench for the first 5 games because I was rehabbing during halftime and just kind of figuring out how to get back as fast as possible. And once I was able to do some one-on-one with Steve Blake and kind of move around, I was like, okay, I'm going to be able to play a couple games before the playoff starts. And I'm just thankful for the opportunity, man. It's a blessing to be able to play this game at the highest level. Seeing Nurk go down, it just kind of gives you a clarity and an understanding that you shouldn't take this game for granted ever, and you should be thankful for the opportunity to play. So, in his honor and him not being able to play, I want to make sure I take full advantage.
So the Blazers 9-2 since losing Nurk, off to one of their best playoff starts, 2-0. How impressed have you been with how Portland has rallied since losing the Bosnian Beast?
Well, there's no team in the league that's better equipped, AJ, to handle that than Portland with KANTER, with Zach Collins and Myers Leonard. There's nobody has those type of replacements. They missed Nurk, no question. But those 3 guys have done a nice job, and the other guys filling in. look at the job that the forwards have done, Aminu and Mo Harkless, and even when Seth Curry's been called upon. So I think it's been a collective effort, and they've done a great job since Nurk went down.
Yeah, and you talk about ENES KANTER. Of course, we are back in the place that he spent 2.5 years of his NBA career. He talked tonight about the expected reception. He says he's not expecting boos, but from what I've heard, this Chesapeake crowd is rocking. So do you think he's not going to get booed?
I think there'll be a few. He left Oklahoma City in a pretty good, with a pretty good reputation, so there'll be some cheers too. But they're going to be in an ornery mood tonight here, AJ, don't you think?
I think so. Down 0-2 in the series. I mean, we remember all too well when Portland was there last year, and it was not a pretty scene in New Orleans, and I'm expecting this OKC crowd to really want to thunder up, as they say here in Oklahoma City. So there's so many matchups that we've talked about all series. Russ versus Dame, Paul George, AJ McCollum, ENES, and Steven Adams. What matchup do you think is the most important tonight?
Well, I think for Oklahoma City, they got to get Jeremy Grant going at forward. He's not made a three. He's been a good player for him all year. Portland really, I think, just do the same stuff that they've been doing. I mean, again, the Harkless Paul George matchup is always important, and then we'll see what happens with the premier matchup, Westbrook against Lillard.
I know, we've seen that one get heated early and then kind of get defeated in the second game, so it's going to be interesting to see how those two go at it, but I have very little doubt that they will be going at it. So we went inside the Blazers locker room since game 2. Let's go inside the Thunder's locker room and see how they're doing since the loss in Portland.
We'll get, our rhythm going. There'll be confidence gained. We played well here. We got an amazing, crowd, home court here. We'll get back on stride being at home. But, I'm not going to say that just to say that just because we're home, it's going to be all fine and dandy. I mean, we got to come out, play, execute, do the things that we do to win this game, our home games here. But it'd definitely be a difference being back here.
You got to win 4, man. You got to win 4. Like you said, we're down 2. They haven't won 4 yet, so we're still inside this. Confidence still there for everybody on this team. Everybody got each other's back. We never got down. We're still looking to win. And like I said, you got to win 4. We down 2. That's all they got. So and we're coming back strong and see what happens.
Seem pretty focused, I think. Them, myself, I feel a bit, just a bit pissed off. But that's just me personally. I'm speaking on there. It's just for me. Obviously, but obviously it ain't over. It's just get a bit more fired up, sort of thing. Not too fired up. It's more just like trying to stay focused on what really going to try to help us win the games. There's a level of emotion you've got to play with. You can't be too emotional. Forget what you really got to do.
We are joined now by Steve McGehee. He's been our Oklahoma City insider for this entire Courtside Chat series, and you brought us a present.
I found a bargain here. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder stress doll. It was $25. Now it's only $10.
And why is that?
I have no idea, because they should be selling for like $50 right now, because Thunder fans are stressed out. But it's kind of cool. You can tear the arms off, and
are we allowed to mutilate a doll?
We may be down to that tonight if Portland does well tonight.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, well.
So as we heard Steven Adams talk about, clearly the emotions here in Oklahoma City, bit of a roller coaster. I doubt anybody was expecting them to come back to OKC down 0-2. How do you think their mentality's been in the last couple days?
Coming back after a horrible game too. It looked
less
great.
than ideal.
Looked great in the first half, and anything that could go wrong did go wrong in the second half, and it was all Portland. And I think they were embarrassed. They were humbled by that. So I expect them to come out energized tonight in front of this sunset orange audience. When I walked into the arena, first thing that thought in my mind was, I'm going to have a bowl of Wheaties when I get home tonight, because I thought of the Wheaties cereal box. It just looks like that, but it's a good look, and I think a home court advantage should help. But I would imagine Portland's going to give it all they got, open up the game to see if they see a letdown in the Thunder.
I think that this is going to be OKC's biggest and best punch tonight. You think that's the case?
No, big time, because if you don't win tonight, that means you got to win 4 in a row to move on and keep your season alive, and the odds of that happening are slim to none. So Oklahoma City, they have to punch back, and more importantly, make some 3-pointers. My goodness, they've been awful in those first 2 games that we've seen.
Yeah, so you talked a little bit about the mentality. What's the mood in the locker room? Are they defeated? Are they encouraged? I mean, what is it?
Not encouraged.
Okay.
Not defeated. Maybe a little stunned that they haven't shot well, but they feel like these are some shots that are missing that they have made all season long. I think we talked about that before game 2.
Yeah.
It didn't develop in game 2 at all, but they still feel that way. It's still weird that Jeremy Grant hasn't made a 3 in this game. He's had games where he's made 4, 5, 6 threes for the Thunder. Terrence Ferguson's had games where he's made up to 8 threes in one game, and he hasn't shot well from behind the arc. Dennis Schroeder hasn't shot well. Russell, of course, we know about his three-point shooting deficiencies. He's taking less threes, but even the ones he's taking, he's missing those as well. So it all comes down to making better shots behind the three-point line, in my opinion.
Yeah. So
ENES
KANTER back in the court that he spent so much time in, clearly a good friend of our friend, Steve. So tell me a little bit about Paul George. Everyone keeps saying he's not hurt, it's just a rhythm thing. What have you seen from him in shoot around?
Maybe a little bit hurt,
okay.
But it's definitely a rhythm thing. Is he out here yet?
I have not seen him.
Okay, he normally pops out. The time changed, 8:30. He normally comes out at 7:30.
Okay.
So, and Russell came out before my first live shot. He was out here, I think, at 4:30.
Oh, wow.
So,
early.
Early.
So they want to get in before the crowd gets
He always
here.
shows up real early for home games. On road games, he starts shooting 2 hours before tip-off. But I haven't seen Paul out here yet, but it's a rhythm thing with him. And if you're Portland, you don't want him to get in the rhythm. Because it could be a long night. So we'll see what happens tonight. But it's going to take more than Paul George making 5 or 6 threes. It's going to have to be a team effort.
Yeah, we've certainly seen in Portland how Paul George can take over a game against the Blazers. Now, Russ, after game 2, very much took responsibility for the loss and said, I'm going to do better. It is my fault. I've heard him do that before. Typically, the next game doesn't go well for his opponent. So how dangerous is he after he makes a statement like that?
He's very dangerous because it happened last year, I think in game 1 in Salt Lake City. Ricky Rubio kind of showed him up, and he said a word I can't say, but he says, I'll get him back.
Yeah.
And he did get him back, but the other guys beat him. So I would imagine he's going to be fired up, energized. I'm just interested to see if Billy's going to let him continue to guard Damian Lillard, or they'll put Paul George or Terrence Ferguson on him. But if Russ wants to do it, I think Billy will let him do it.
Yeah.
But if it's failing, I'm interested to see how quick he pulls the trigger and get somebody else on Damian.
Yeah, absolutely, because we know that Damian can take over a game as much as Russell can.
And CJ too.
And CJ. They've both taken over games in this series. So you've now been to 2 playoff games at Moda this week. I'm assuming you've been to a couple here in Chesapeake Arena. Give me a little compare-contrast. What's the difference in the arenas in playoff atmospheres?
They're both extremely loud. My ears rarely ring for a playoff game, but that game 1, my ears were ringing in the first quarter. So well done, Portland fans up there. That was incredible. Utah was loud last year. It'll be loud here, and I think it's worth, in the playoffs, in my opinion, it's worth 4 to 6 points extra.
Okay.
To have that kind of that support behind you. We saw it in game 2. I think it was first half, where Russ lost Lillard, and so Jeremy Grant came over late, fouled Lillard. It turned up being a 4-point play, and that helped turn the tide around for the Blazers, and the crowd got energized again, because Portland, I think, was down about 10 points at that point.
I think so.
So it's little things like that where the crowd can help you out to kind of get your home team fired up.
Because then we saw AJ McCollUM drill the 3 to end the half. That was the tie. So I think you're right. It's going to be very interesting. I'm super pumped to hear this crowd. I haven't heard it before, so I'm excited about that. One of the things we know Portland is focused on is defense, defense, defense. The key to that defense is communication. Here is how some of the team says they're going to make sure they can still communicate in a hostile environment.
Communication is probably the most important thing at the defensive end. Whether it's help defense or pick and roll defense, whatever it is. And so when there's the understanding of what you're doing and the trust behind you, it just helps all the way across.
It's definitely tough, but that's where the trust comes. That's where I'm only here for like 2 months, but I think everybody's doing a really good job communicating each other. I think, and Dame and CJ doing an unbelievable job leading this team, and I think that's what makes what's a difference.
The support of being a home team is like you always in it, and then when you go on the road, it's the exact opposite. Every time they make a shot, it's like the end of the world. Every time they go on a run, it's the end of the world. So it's us being able to keep our focus and sustain, what our mentality has been, regardless of home or on the road. With their crowd doing what our crowd did to them. We just got to keep our minds right and just keep weathering the storm and weathering the storm and weathering the storm. And then, once it becomes a 5-minute game, that's going to be the moment of truth.
All right, so I'm expecting Logo Lillard to attempt to make an appearance very early in this one, set the tone, make sure the Thunder remember just how far out they have to be to guard against him. We're expecting a fantastic game here in Oklahoma City. Of course, we'll be here for it, and we'll bring you reaction at 11 o'clock on Coin 6 News. But for now, thank you so much for joining us on Courtside Chats.